Chapter 5. Life as a Sailor. The ship was always in motion, but lately it seemed to Felix the wind grew lighter and lighter. The ship moved well in the light wind, but as the wind died away, she sailed slower and slower. The captain and mates devised ways to add more and more sail to catch the ever lighter wind. Every noon, the captain determined the ship's position and calculated the number of miles they had traveled. When the wind blew strongly, the ship could sail over 100 miles a day. But now, with the wind so light, she was sometimes only traveling 30 or 40 miles in 24 hours. It seemed as if they were just bobbing along, going nowhere. The sun beat down, bright and hot. The sails hung limp in the yards. The men lay about on deck, reading, dozing, or just staring out at the endless, great, gently heaving sea. Felix looked over the side and saw a cat looking back up at him from the water. He had never seen his reflection before. He didn't know the thin, wild-looking animal was him. Before he could decide what to do about the other cat, he heard the mate shout out, "Swim call! Who wants to go for a bit of a float?" Everyone except the helmsman, the captain, and the officer on watch raced to the rail. The mate posted a lookout for sharks, and the men, one after another, leapt over the side of the still ship. Some men drove in a graceful arc from the high rail on the forecastle. Others more or less tumbled in, grateful to be in the cool water. Even Wally Godfrey, the old cook, took his turn in the water. "After all the years I've sailed across this ocean, this is the first time I've ever been in the water on purpose," Wally said as he climbed up the Jacob's ladder and back over the rail. Jumping in the ocean must be something all sailors do, Felix thought. He got ready to take his turn alongside the others in the water. "Oh, no, you don't!" The captain held Felix in his hands just as Felix was about to jump. "I don't think you can swim, and I know I don't, so there will be no rescuing a floundering cat today. I've been keeping an eye on you. You've become quite a sailor, Felix. What do you say you and I take a turn around the vessel in our launch?" The men had lowered the ship's small power boat over the side as a precaution. The captain thought this would be a good chance to get some photographs of the ship at sea. Felix had the best vantage point, standing in the bow of the tender as the captain motored about getting pictures of the ship from all angles. Felix, who had only seen the ship from the deck, was amazed at how small this old-fashioned vessel looked, floating alone in the empty sea. He was glad to get back aboard when it was time to see Joe Meany take his turn driving off the main yard. The big yard that held the mainsail was about 40 feet off the water, and Joe screamed with delight and terror all the way down. As he broke the surface and swam back to the ship, Felix could see the biggest grin on his face. "My mom sure wouldn't have liked to see me make that jump," he said. She may not want to see you do that, but she will be happy to know that you've taken to the sailor's life so well. I may mention you in my next transmission to the States," Captain Villiers said from the half-deck. The captain had the radio man, Andy Horrocks, send weekly messages with the ship's progress and some bits of information about what was happening on board. It was designed to generate interest in the voyage and build excitement for the crew's arrival in Plymouth. Excitement on the ship returned after the swimming party. The crew was glad for the break in routine, and the unexpected swim lifted the sense of doldrums. Not long after the swim, the wind came back. At first, Felix could feel a little tickle in his whiskers as the light air came across the deck. He looked up at the sails. They had been hanging down limp and tired. Now as the wind picked up, the sails began to sway forward, catching the slight breeze. Soon tiny ripples appeared on the sea, and the deck heeled over. He heard the second mate, Adrian Small, call the ripples cat's paws. To Felix, they looked like the rough skin on the bottom of his own paws. The patches of wind on the glassy surface joined together as the breeze grew steadier. The crew braced to the yards around to catch the freshening breeze, and Mayflower 2 was once more on her way to America.